everyone. We are so happy to be here, and we welcome you to this session where we are going to explain a project we are developing related to Maria Montessori and Scratch. Let me introduce a little bit the project. This is a project about pedagogy, where we have imagined what Maria Montessori would do with a Scratch, how she would present it to the children. We are sure she would love it. In the Montessori method, stories and tales are very important in order to spark the children's imaginations. For instance, imagine a group of children sitting on the floor around a teacher who says to them, "Let me tell you a story. There is a world called Scratch, where instructions and characters live. In this world, characters are called sprites. On the one side of the wall live the instructions. On the other side live the sprites. The instructions live inside houses. In the middle, there is a playground where they play and have fun together. In this panel, we will cover things like this. But let me introduce the people who will joining me for these sessions. We have a remarkable group of experts, representatives of the organizations that we have been working in that project. First, we have the coordination team, Maria Berrocal, Eduard Montaner, and myself, Jordi Freixenet, from the U Digital Edu, a research group of the University of Girona. Next, we are privileged to have Sarah Kennedy from Waterpark Montessori International. Her mastery in Montessori education shed light on promoting and integrating the Montessori principles while teaching Scratch. And last but not least, we have a very loved English teacher from a rural school in Carcia, in Romania, Delia Pirbu. Her experience and first-hand knowledge of working with pupils from minority groups have offered practical insight regarding inclusion and multiculturality in our project. So thank you, Sarah, Delia, Maria, Eduard, to be here with us in this session about our project. So we have planned the session with this proposal. So first of all, we are going to try to give some ideas about this question, why Maria Montessori would use a Scratch. Then we present a little bit the context of the project. And in the third time, we are going to present a sequence of workshops, a sequence of activities that we think how Maria Montessori would present to the children a Scratch for the first time. Then we are going to listen the voice of the teachers and the students and the children that have participated in the project. And at the end, we would like to finish by hearing you, by listening to you, by taking notes of your suggestions and trying to answer your questions. So let's start with that question. Why would Maria Montessori be a Scratcher? Sarah, can you give us some ideas?
Thanks, Jordi. Yeah, I can try. Now, I never met her, but from what I know of reading about her and reading from her works, she loved technology, and she was always looking for new technology to be used with the children, as well as a tool to bring humanity further. So I have absolutely no problems thinking that Maria Montessori would definitely be an avid scratcher, as we are saying here. If you can show the next slide, when talking about literacy, such as music literacy, creative arts, all of these things, Maria Montessori believed that it was an element of culture that all children ought to learn. So everyone should learn to read music, to be allowed to play music. Performance was not just for the talented people or for artists, but music belongs to all of us and should be used as a creative medium for literacy, to express ourselves. And we would like to posit that Mitch Resnick might also believe in the same kind of code for coding, that coding is an element of culture that all children ought to learn, that we want to teach coding to all children, not just for talented people and engineers, STEAM experts, but that coding belongs to all of us and should be used as a creative medium for expression.
Fantastic, Sarah. Thank you very much. So we'll come later on this question, but let me tell you a little bit about the context of the project. So this project is a tribute to this lady, the one with the green jersey, that is called Maria Antonia Canals. Maria Antonia died last year. She was a teacher of teachers and a professor at the Faculty of Education of the University of Girona. With Maria Antonia, we learned Montessori. Her aunt, were also a teacher, learned directly from Maria Montessori and was the director of the first Montessori school in Spain, in Barcelona, the school that Maria Antonia attended. With Maria Antonia, we also learned what social commitment is. Maria Antonia was always concerned about the education of the children, especially the poorest. Thank you very much, Maria Antonia, for all that you taught us, and this is for you. The project is called Montec, Montessori Tech, and it is co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union, and it tries to answer this question in a practical way. If Maria Montessori were alive today, how could she incorporate technology in the classroom while staying true to her educational approach? And in the same way that Maria Montessori and Maria Antonia did, our focus is also on multicultural schools in Europe. Schools, for example, in Spain, with many children from new migrant families, or in Bulgaria and Romania, where there are a lot of schools with minorities like Roma children, or in Greece, with many schools with children coming from refugee families. Our project is aimed at teachers working in these schools. And the project partners, you'll see we are a group of 8 partners. We are experts on creative technology, University of Girona, Safiria from Bologna, Italy. We have 2 partners that are experts on Montessori, Montessori Palau School in Girona and Waterpark Montessori International in Cork, Ireland. And we have also what we called experts on teacher training, Action Synergy and Eloris in Greece, the Center for Creative Training in Sofia in Bulgaria, and the school Constantin Ianculescu in Craiova in Romania. But from minute zero, we want that all the organizations to participate with teachers in all the steps of the project, so that all the partners are designers and implementators and testers at the same time, from minute zero. The project is a 3-year project and started in 2021. And in this year, we listened to the teachers from multicultural schools and created the first version of the Montec Guide in English and just for internal use. We started the 2022 year by training 35 European teachers from the consortium countries in a 3-day intense training in Girona, and And then we gave them like 4 months to implement what they had learned in Girona, in their schools. And we met again in Athens in the month of June to listen to their feedback. With this feedback, with the feedback of the teachers, we improved the guide and we published the second version, this time public, that has been translated into the languages of the consortium. From September 22 until the end of this year, we are training teachers in the different countries of the partners using our own languages. At this moment, we have trained 350 teachers, and our target is the 500 teachers. And Maria, can you tell us a little the context of the project, please?
Yeah, sure. I can tell you about our project website, which you can access through the QR code or by typing the montessoritech.eu in the address bar. It contains a summary of the 2 methods that the project blends, information about the teacher training, and the general idea of the project, as well as its objectives and target groups. It also displays a teacher's guide that Jordi was telling you about, which is available in 9 languages, among them English. So please do not hesitate to download it right now if you feel like it. And well, the Montec Guide has 3 chapters preceded by an introductory section about the Montessori principles and the recommended methodology for the proper activity implementation. The first chapter is about the rich story of technology, which can serve as a timeline to contextualize some of the activities. The second one gathers a variety of workshops to introduce Scratch and the back concepts of the computational thinking. And the third one is a collection of activities of different subjects where creative technologies have their own. So if we look at the linear structure of the workshops, it follows the creative thinking spiral of Mike Resnick. This is why each part has a heading and a color indicating the different phases to ensure teachers provide children the time to go through all the spiral during the activity development. So the workshops included in the guide are unplugged, plugged, or a combination of both. However, in any case, screens replace cardboard and pencil productions, as you can see in the pictures. Rather than this, they maximize or extend their functionality through creative technology resources. So we got inspired by the materials produced by the Scratch team, the creative computing and getting unstuck guides, and activities from the Tinkering Studio, Makey Makey, and Macrobit, among others. But you will be wondering, what does this activities implementation look like when put into practice following the Montec method? So perhaps Sarah could throw light on it for us. Thank you.
Sure. So there are several aspects that we put into special focus that are both following the Montessori principles, but also that help to make this project successful for implementation. So we start with the spark. It's a story that we tell, which for those who are familiar with the Montessori method, we very often tell stories to introduce new subjects. So we get the whole class going, sparking their interest. And then there's free choice. And I heard that actually in one of the sessions today about choice being an important aspect. And I thought, yeah, we agree with that one. So free choice so that the students can choose what they want to work with and how they want to approach their project. That's really important, that they're following, their inner desire to explore. And then in the meantime, we also have small group demonstrations where we take some students and we'll give them a presentation in a key concept or something that we see that they might be struggling with, and we give them a lesson in that one thing. And then we give them a new challenge, encourage them to continue to work independently and more follow-up activities. Feedback is another one that we use. Well, let's go to the journal. And we've got some ideas, some examples from some of the student journals here. we really put emphasis on the journal and the reflection. We really want them reflecting on their work. What have they done? Whether it's just drawing a picture or maybe, looking at how this is how far I've gotten, giving feedback to a peer based on what they've done, they're brainstorming. And also, it was also mentioned in one of the sessions that it's okay to be not finished with a project, even when we're sharing it. We can also go back in and rework it. And here are some more, a way to put our ideas into a journal so that we keep sort of an ongoing diary of what we're doing and our thoughts and reflections. And we also put a very big emphasis on feedback that is sort of built into Scratch with the collaboratory aspect of it, where you can collaborate on different projects, you can remix, and then you can go in and give good constructive feedback. And so we do, we practice how to give good feedback on our projects.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And now we explain to you what is the sequence we think Maria Montessori would follow to introduce Scratch for the first time to children. In the guide, we present different activities that represent different ways of learning. We believe that the teacher must present different options so that the children can choose which one they like the most. We are concerned that some of our students that arrive to the Faculty of Education in our university, the ones that are coming now, have already been taught Scratch, and some of them don't like it at all. We understand how important it is to introduce a Scratch so that it can be adapted to the diversity of the children. It is not only white walls in the terms that we have to follow our passions, whether drawing, music, stories, or video games. It is also about introducing Scratch with different styles of learning, from instruction to exploration, presenting them Scratch by telling a tale to spark their imagination, presenting them the Scratch cards as a mission to follow a challenge, or the 10-block challenge as a prepare environment specific to promote discovery. Here is our proposal: 10 different ways to discover Scratch. So I pass the word to Edu, because Edu, can you tell us a little bit more about these different ways to learn Scratch, to learn with Scratch?
Yes, sure. Hello, everyone. As Jordi said, there are many different ways of introducing Scratch. And in the Montec project, we suggest that the educator explore several of them with his or her students. This way, the students, the children, can find the ways of learning that they like the most. Of course, there are some usual ways of introducing a Scratch. Maybe we could call them the classical ways, like the tutorials that we are seeing now on the screen. Scratch tutorials are very well designed and they are very playful, and usually both children and teachers love it. We also have another classical way, that is the educator that gives the tutorial. He or she can perform a demo with a Scratch, for example, with the projector to the whole class to show some idea or concept, and then let the students explore by themselves. And it's very important to mention that these methods are not self-exclusive, but they can be combined with each other. And in this project, this is what we precisely we are suggesting to the educators to do. There are more ways. Obviously, we also have, if you are in the Scratch conference, I'm sure that you probably know the Scratch cards. They are very well known, and they can give a lot of play if they are used well. We have seen educators using them in a very instructional way. And of course, that is not our idea. We like to present the scratch cards as missions, something, challenges that the children have to collaborate and share in order to solve that challenge. Also, the scratch cards are perfect for promoting pair programming and learning by teaching. When some child discovers something when they are trying some scratch card, then we should promote spaces, time for that child to be able to explain that to another child. This is very important for us. Another classical activity that also Jordi already mentioned is the 10 blocks challenge from the creative computing curriculum designed between Harvard and the MIT. As Jordi said, the 10 blocks challenge is a prepared environment designed specifically for discovering. And this idea of a prepared environment has a lot of links with Montessori pedagogy. And this idea of starting with just a few blocks and explore what you can do with them and discover things, we think that it's great to do the first steps in Scratch. Then there are activities like the Kitbot. I'm sure that probably all of you also know the Kitbot is a very good activity for introducing programming, coding. It can be connected to Scratch or not. We can use Kitbot to learn any other programming language. So it's independent of Scratch. In the Kitbot, we divide the classroom into teams, and in each team there is a child that is playing the role of the robot. And the rest of the children in that team, they have to program that robot. They have to create a sequence of instructions and give these instructions with paper, with a blackboard, with cards, with whatever. And they need to program the robot to perform a mission. And in this way, they are learning what is a sequence of instructions and computational concepts like loops, conditionals, etc. It's an activity that can be implemented in kindergarten, but also with older grades. I've done this activity with teenagers and young adults. And of course, when you do that, you have also to let them to create new instructions, to invent instructions, etc. And what we did in this project is to connect this Kitbot activity, the classical activity, with the Scratch. And we created a Scratch version of the Kitbot. And in this case, one of the children is playing the role of the sprite using the Scratch language. And he's wearing the interface of the Scratch. And the other children are attaching physically instructions in the interface and asking the robot, the sprite, the child, to do some activities, missions. And in this way, they are learning the basics of the interface and the basic instructions. Another important contribution of the Montec, one of the most important contributions, is this idea of exploring how can we use stories and tales to introduce Scratch, like Jordi was doing at the beginning of the presentation. And that, of course, it's also very linked to Montessori pedagogy. And now I think we can watch this video where Sarah is showing this idea.
So today I want to tell you a story about a brand new world. And there's a lot that happens in this world. But there's a lot of order. In order for there to be peace and harmony and that everyone gets along, there are special things that have to happen in this world so that everyone can get along. There's a lot of order. Just like in our own world, in nature, we have lots of laws and everyone follows the laws that they're given. Well, in this world here, it's the same thing. If we look over here, we can see there's a whole village full of instructions. This is the instruction village, and it's very orderly. As you can see, they're all in their houses, and they're in order. They're all nicely labeled, so we know exactly which ones are which. And they have special colors. This first one, the blue house, it says, can you read what's on there? Motion. These are very strong, very active instructions. This family, they're really proud of themselves. They really do a lot of action. there are a few here that I've made up for us, and they live in the motion house. Let's choose a motion. And how about we say we're going to pull this one here. I'm going to place it on the instruction section where we're going to place the ones that we choose. And on here, can you read what it says here? Move 10 steps. So you can see that's action. Move 10 steps. That will tell something to do something. It will make an action. Now below them here, we have the purplet family. Now the purple family, always, they're quite vain and they like to take care of what they look like, their appearance. They like to look just right. And as you can see on the roof, it says looks. So they're very aware of what they look like. And you can say, for example, change your size by 10, it says here. So that tells us how to change or to move or to look differently. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So you'd be bigger?
It would make this bigger. Well, we have to depends. If it's plus 10, that means it's going to go bigger. Maybe if it's minus, maybe it will get smaller. We'll have to try that out. Because anything that's in that little bubble there, you can actually change that number and we'll be able to try that out. But it's very specific to the instructions. We have to make sure to give them the instructions. Now, we also here, under here, we have a yellow family. And these sisters, they're quite proud of themselves, you see. They like to sleep and they kind of take breaks every now and then, but as soon as you tell them, as soon as you activate them, they jump straight in and they make things happen. So for example, I'm going to take this one, and on it says, when the green flag is clicked. Okay. Now, there are no instructions that are more important than the others. They are all, each one is a player, just like on a baseball team or basketball team where all the players are important, they just have different roles. That's the same in the world of the instructions. They all are really important, but they have a very special role that they do so that it all functions in peace and harmony in this world. Now, this one here, remember I said sometimes they take a nap and sometimes they jump into action or start things going? They're sort of the instigators. The events, they're the ones that say when things need to start going. So if I set these instructions together, that means that when the green flag is clicked, then these things are going to happen. So it's their job to say when things get going. Mm-hmm. Now, that's all great to have all the instructions here, but what is it they're giving instructions to? And for that, we have to travel over to the other side of the playground to where our sprites live. Now, sprite is another name for character. So this is Ben, and Ben lives in this world, and he loves playing on the playground. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use all of these instruction families, and we're going to be able to select one, just like we did here, to give instructions for Ben to know how to play on his playground. That's really cool, isn't it? So, for example, it says now we've made a set of instructions here. We said when we're clicking the green flag, Ben, because this is the sprite, the character that we've chosen, Ben's going to move 10 steps and he's going to change his size by 10. That's going to be a little hard when we have these pieces that you really can't change the size of these unless we stretch them or crumple them up. But this world actually exists. This world is in a program that's called Scratch, and we're actually going to be able to choose from all of our families of instructions and create a set of instructions of codes that will tell our sprite, and will tell Ben how he can play on the playground. So even though we can't really change his size by 10 in real life on something that I've printed up, we will be able to change it in the program on the computer, right? So let's pretend if I click on the green, he's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then he would have to change the size. We'll make him bigger if we could. So what you can do is have fun looking at all of these different houses, and each of them have a name. So you might be able to guess even before you saw some of the codes that are inside the houses. You might actually be able to guess what kind of coding it will do, what kind of instructions it will be able to give to Ben on the playground. So that is the world of Scratch here. And once you've had a look at this, you can try some out. If you wanted to put together some instructions, we'll then be able to discover, we can open up our computers and we can log into Scratch and we'll see the same idea. It might not look exactly like this, but I think you'll recognize the colors and the names. And inside each of those, you'll find the same instructions that we have here. You'll find your sprites, and then you'll see that there's a playground and where we place our codes. So play around with this and see if you can make a set of codes, and maybe you can try following the code instructions to move Ben around. You could even switch the look, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that is something that you could. You do?
I definitely have one.
Okay. So off you go then. You can have fun playing in this world here, and when you're ready, I will show you where the real world of Scratch exists. Oh, you want the dinosaur. There you go.
Okay, so maybe Sarah, do you want to comment a little bit about what we have seen?
Yeah, so this is a tale that is part of the guide, and I had no children except my own. I had one of my children being the participant for the story, but and my eldest child doing the filming. So but it's a really great way of getting them. I think someone in the chat said it's low pressure. There's no anxiety of if I click there, is something going to happen, but it's a way of sparking interest, introducing them to this world. And you can see in the pictures in the slide here, you see both teacher training and the children hearing this tale as well. And it's such a simple way of doing it. You can just print up some code, and we have it as part of the materials that go with this project, that we can we can make it as amazing or as simple as you have resources for, or as much energy as you want to put into it. So it's really a low-key but really fun way to get the children involved in understanding the world of Scratch before we get into the plugged part of it.
Okay, thank you very much. We can also discover Scratch, as you can see in the photos now, by playing. Here we can see a very simple example. It's one of the activities of the guide, and we are using a fortune teller to learn about sequences and to start learning some of the basics of Scratch. So children in this case fold the paper and they play with it. They have to choose one of the sprites, and then the child has to perform the actions that are hidden behind that sprite, and these actions are of course Scratch instructions. We also have activities like the making faces activities that you also maybe know. In this case, is an activity designed by the Tinkering Studio. As Maria said before, we took inspiration from several groups and institutions, in this case, the Tinkering Studio. We like very much the idea of making faces with Scratch, where you use everyday objects to do some computational tinkering. You create faces and you play with them computationally with Scratch. And in Montec, our target schools are multicultural schools, and we give a lot of importance to culturally relevant pedagogies. When we design the activities, we try to include the cultures, the different cultures that are present in the classroom. And in this case, we modified a little bit the making faces activity, so the children explore the traditional masks of their own cultures, of the cultures present in the classroom, and they bring these masks to the classroom, or they take photos from the internet, and then they play computationally with Scratch and these masks. And I think now Sarah can explain the next activity. That is very interesting.
So another concept that we're trying to show is that these, the concepts that are very important for coding, we also find elsewhere in our world. So for example, one of these is loops. And we discussed this loops we can find everywhere. We have loops in nature when we're talking about maybe the cycles of an animal, or we can make simple dance loops we have these simple cards. They're all loose cards. You can reorder them. The children got into groups and they made a sequence. As you can see, we had one up on the board. And we then had a simple 4 lines of 4 beats, and we actually danced in a loop. And so we had great discussions about, can we just keep going on a loop, or do we need to sometimes alter it? And it became a really great activity. But again, it was an unplugged way of understanding the concept of loops before we got into the digital part, where there are many, many different dance party projects that they can then implement that concept digitally into a plugged project and remix and have fun with other projects that are available for them. So, Delia, could you tell us about this Monsters with Variables project?
Of course, Sarah. Monsters with Variables is another workshop which aims to teach variables, an abstract concept, through manipulating real objects. As you've heard throughout our presentation up till now, they are to handle different shapes of bodies and arms and legs and eyes. And at the beginning of the lesson, the teacher has to explain the variables to the children and explain how they can get creative by using variables. It also has to give, the teacher also has to give an example by building a monster, and then children in groups or pairs, whatever makes them feel more comfortable, start working and creating their own monster. By selecting a set of instructions. Also, they are encouraged to reflect and share and use the journal afterwards, maybe draw the monster and even write the set of instructions they have used in order to better reflect on what they have learned. Then there is the plugged version of this workshop, where students first are shown a tutorial, but the tutorial is not meant to teach the variables. Is meant to kindle their curiosity, and then they need to work in Scratch. And they will use a monster again as a backdrop and the single sprite as the eyes. The user has to enter the value between 1 and 3. They will use the blocks answer and ask. Answer would be the variable. And the main idea is for them to work independently. And when this being a quite difficult workshop, and they need previous experience in Scratch and maybe some knowledge of conditionals. But if they stumble, if they somehow make a mistake, they need to debug it, to review everything they've done and find where the bug is and fix the exercise. And through this manner, learn independently and by themselves somehow. Let's see what's the connection between Maria. How would Maria Montessori be a scratcher? Maria, could you help us?
Yeah, sure. So I think we strongly believe Maria Montessori will be a scratcher. As with the Montec pedagogical approach, Scratch can be aligned with some of her principles, such as respect for the child. Scratch respects children's different ways of learning, interests, and level of experience, as we have seen with Jordi and Edu before. And intrinsic motivation, because they can create projects they care about by choosing the theme or setting their own challenges while getting engaged in learning. So the way we see it, Scratch serves as a prepared environment for self-education as it makes learners realize and learn from their mistakes without needing anyone else to point them out. So I think that's why we think Maria Montessori will be a scratcher.
Thank you very much, Maria. Now we are going to hear the teachers' testimonials, the teachers that have been involved in the project. And Delia, can you tell us a little bit about the voices of the teachers and the children?
Of course, that would be me telling you about the teachers and the children. Throughout the whole project, we've tried our main aim was to reach a certain type of communities of children. As has been said before, we've tried to reach migrants in Spain, refugees in Greece, and disadvantaged communities in Romania and Bulgaria, mainly Roma population, but not just Roma children. And I'm going to talk a little bit about schools in Romania, just to give you a bit of a context, because I'm a teacher and I live and I teach in Romania. There are two types of schools. There are well-equipped schools, and I've tried to select two pictures to show you this. The well-equipped schools where children learn, study at their best, they graduate, and most of them go all over Europe. And there are schools poorly equipped, which are mainly in the rural area, where also Roma kids live, some of them, but also Romanian children. And also the overall look over the school system in Romania, we can see there are some issues, there are some problems that need to be addressed in the nearest future, if it's possible. And some of these problems were addressed by Montec. Not all, but some of them received answers from the project. Lack of school facilities is one of them throughout the country. Too many students in one class. The study subjects are too difficult, and Montec addressed this because made them playful and more easy to be understood. Teacher-student interaction insufficient, also an issue that Montec addressed. No methods of active participation. It's something that Montec brought into the classroom because children were actively involved during the class, during the workshops, and too much time spent on teaching. That's not the case anymore. I have selected some of the teachers' testimonials, the teachers who were involved in the project and experienced Montec, and they implemented workshop in their classrooms. They accepted to implement without being involved in the project. And I'm going to read some of them for you. Cristina, who is a teacher in Plenița School, Romania, says, I also learned something from my students. They reminded me how important teamwork is, and they made me realize how creative they are, and that teacher talking time should be reduced in favor of students' thinking time. Another teacher, Alexandra, says, I could see them being more friendly to each other. They were having fun of all of them. Maybe because they had freedom around the class, they could move and do things freely. Children created an imaginary world with the help of Montec, says Simona. We also have Anna, who is a teacher in an inclusive education center. She says they worked together, helped each other, asked a lot of questions. They were curious. We also have some students' testimonials, and Emma says, I realized that all my colleagues are like me. I found out that you need to try again and again in order to succeed, says Mihai. These are some examples of sheets of paper from their journals. And there is also, I work better within teams. We helped each other. I had more freedom. Time passed by faster while working with technology. Also, working with so many teachers, which is not the case normally, because you would be in one school and teach your students, do whatever you do inside the school. But European projects got me out of Romania quite often and introduced me to teachers from all over Europe, but also helped me to connect with teachers in Romania, which I didn't do previously. And I could identify some strong points in these activities, and by talking with the teachers, cross-curricular activities increases attractiveness, strongly connected to the curricula schools use in Romania, elicits collaboration in class, immediate creativity, enables them to solve problems they encounter, trains teachers to adopt new methods or update their own if they follow the guide and adopt this new method of teaching, trains teachers to use technology during classes. Nowadays, schools in Romania are equipped with more technology than they used to have, but teachers need to be trained not to be afraid of technology. Okay, things can go wrong. Maybe you won't master everything, but you need to start somewhere. You need to start somewhere. Within mixed groups, we've noticed that older children help smaller ones. There were also a few weak points, as there are in all things. Students find working in teams challenging when working in Scratch because all want to touch the computer and be in power, let's say. First graders' low level of reading skills made them quite dependent to the teacher. Refugee minority migrant students have a low school presence. In Romania, Roma population has this problem. We're facing it, which weakened Montec impact. And teachers' level of adaptability to a different approach when teaching. Not all of them felt comfortable changing their ways and trying something. Maybe try it once, but I don't know in the long run if they would. Thank you. Jordi?
Yeah, thank you very much, Delia. And now I just we are in the last point that we are going to listen to the audience, and we would like if you have suggestions for us or you have questions or so. I just leave that last slide that is our contacts. If you are interested in the project, please contact us. We are going to organize on the next autumn a training, an online training in English, international, and we are going to offer this possibility to learn about the Montec project. So I'm going to go to the questions. I don't know if you have some questions.
There was one, Jordi, that where they're asking the age of the children for the project. Maybe we can approach that because they also asked, do we start with Scratch Jr. or jump straight into Scratch? If you want to address that.
Yeah, we have thought for the project is addressed primary education, and most of the activities are for Scratch, but as we have trained some teachers from kindergarten, and we have adapted some of the activities that are in the Montec guide with the Scratch Junior as well.
So also the second part there, do you use any coding blocks that aren't without the screen, unplugged versions of the blocks? I think we showed that in the story maybe. Yeah. And then of course there are other things that you can do with the blocks that are, the puzzle blocks that we've seen as well, 3D. There's
don't know.
also a question from in the chat now. Coach Newton is asking, do you maintain contact or support with schools teachers that committed to using the curriculum, or did each location have its own support? That's a great question. Jordi?
Yeah, we have a in the project there is a part that so we initially in 2022 we trained teachers from all the partner countries, and then these teachers became trainers, and now these trainers are in contact with the teachers that we are training in Italy, in Spain, in Romania, in Bulgaria, in Greece, in Norway. Yes, we have in contact with these teachers because we ask them things when they are working with us. So we ask them a survey at the beginning, a survey at the end, and we ask as well feedback from their implementations. We want to hear from them if the things that we put in the guide are working or not. So and as well if we can improve the activities that we had in the guide.
And our contact information is always out there. So I occasionally get emails from teachers who are in their classroom saying, okay, how would you do this? We tried this, but could you give me some suggestions of how we might? So we're always welcoming these kind of questions as well to make sure that the implementation goes well. It's successful.
Very good. I think that we have more time for questions, like 5 minutes or something like this, if I am not wrong.
There've been a few comments while we're waiting for more questions to come in. There are a few comments about, a brain break with the active. And of course, as a Montessori educator, I'm not used to the fact that we're all sitting at their own tables, at their desks. It's in constant movement in a Montessori classroom. But yes, these are great activities for getting up and moving and activating the brain, getting the oxygen flowing and the energy moving as they're learning.
There's Tracy who says, love to see the strong weak points of the project so far for students struggling to work in a team to use Scratch. Is there anything that you're doing to address that? We've noticed throughout the implementation that they are struggling with that. And we've realized that because they didn't have much experience in working in teams and groups, because we normally didn't do things like that, or maybe just a few teachers, but most of them just taught the lesson. They just, each of them sits at their desk, and I, for instance, in the beginning, I was trying to convince them, please, you'll see, it's going to be fun. But then I realized I'm not very convincing, and I didn't want to make them feel uncomfortable or not collaborate anymore. And actually, I let those children who didn't want to work within a group or a pair of with another peer of his or her, and let him just be alone for a period of time. And then after a while, he wanted to be with somebody else because he could see that they were laughing, they were having fun, and in time things actually turned for the best, let's say. Yeah, this is why I practically respected their. Yes, Sarah, sorry.
No, I was just going to say that it's a social, the period that we're talking about, between 6 to 12-year-olds, really, that is social. That's social interaction, right? So, but we have to remember the free choice. There are some who, for example, they're not ready yet to perform on something digital. They need time to get used to it, to slowly acclimate, and then they'll join in. So again, that freedom of choice that we talked about, that's a really important principle to remember, to allow them to choose groups or to choose to work alone. And then we have noticed that those who do choose to work alone do want to then join in the fun with others, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another question that says, in the Montessori method, children of different age engage in activities together. Do they also do activities together in Scratch?
Yes, would be the answer, the short answer to that. Yeah, I mean, mixed ages, of course, is one of the main principles. But yeah, Delia, I don't know if you want to answer that because you have the children in the classroom there.
Yes, I was reading the comments. Can you please repeat that for me, please? What was the question?
It's on the screen there. In the Montessori method, children of different ages engage in the activities together. Do they also do
Yes.
in Scratch?
Yes. Yeah, we are merging different classes, different grades actually, because they work well together. They help each other, and if they have different levels, then the older ones get like being mini teachers, and they love it. Yeah, I was reading. Teacher must be able. I was concentrating on. First, teachers must be able to work together to teach children to work together. That's amazing. And yes, you're right. But as I must be honest with you, and as I've seen things around, teachers are afraid of working together with other teachers, maybe afraid of being judged, and the same thing is happening with the children. They need to be encouraged all the time, because actually children are just like us. We are all human beings, and we are all afraid of the judgment of others, as we are experienced now, being here on stage and being judged. So that's real life, and it's hard for teachers to work together. And I must confess that before being involved in these projects, I knew of just a few teachers, and now I know a lot. Yeah, because I reached to them, not because somebody reached to me. Yeah.
It's important that we allow ourselves to be vulnerable. That's a really important word, that we just, okay, we make mistakes. That's the friendly attitude to error that's central in the Montessori principles as well. It's okay to make errors. And I feel Scratch, it just lets you make errors, go back, find your mistakes, and just keep going, right? So that's really what we need to keep working on. There's one thing about a question about asking if you can use the Montessori approach with grade 3 and above learners. Montessori worked on her method. She developed a method up into the university. So yes, absolutely. And they apply to adults as well. And then would one of the ones from Spain like to take the question from Nadia? I'm not going to test my translation skills.
Yes, let me try it. She said in Uruguay we are developing a project at national level with the Scratch Jr., where there are some parts, a lot of where we can find a lot of Montessori principles. She was very happy with this panel, is what she said, but she didn't ask any question. I don't know, Nadia, if you want to ask some question to us.
But again, the manual is available for everyone to download in any of those languages that Maria showed us on the slide. So please go in, and you're welcome to contact us. Maybe pop our information back up there. But thanks so much for listening, and I hope we hear more comments and questions from you as time goes along.
Okay. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.